Oh, Mick's already in. I was going to introduce Mick in later. Mick, you were there. He is. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as always, I am the proud owner and the host of Chatter About the Chatter men's radio station. My name's Cuddy Cudworth, the founder of Monkey Mind Relaxation. And look, today's a special show because I wanted to start getting some guests in. It's all right. Don't worry about it, Sina. Sina, I can see your little question. It's absolutely fine. In about 5 minutes' time, we're going to bring in a guest. You may just have seen him, but the reason we brought in the guest, and the name of the show today is The Sunnier Side of Depression. I mean, that's a pretty bold title, because a lot of people are saying, well, there is no sunnier side of depression. Well, you know, that's the thing with depression. And I think I've suffered with depression in the past, and I can recognize when it's coming up. But I think we did that on the last show about a month ago, where we talked about how you can identify depression when it's coming on, that thought pendulum, so you can see it coming on and you can stop it. You can actually stop depression in its tracks by understanding how it's working with you, understanding how it's making you feel and things like that. So the sunnier side of depression, I've been reaching out to a couple of friends that I've got around the world, because I wanted to get them onto the shows so we can start having chats. So we're going to get some really cool guests on to start creating that awareness. Obviously, there's so much awareness about it now, but we want to keep talking about it to give everyone as much options so that they don't have to stay where you are. And that's the thing with depression. Hi, Veronica. How you doing? Veronica, all the way from just over the water at Edinburgh. Absolutely fantastic to see you in. I'm not going to lie, Veronica. The one. Afternoon, gents. It's me on my own today, but we'll say hi to Mick when we get him in a few minutes' time. So, Veronica, do you know what? The one person who watches the show, I'm like, where's Veronica? Why is she not on? So today's show is the sunnier side of depression. And the reason we've called it the sunnier side of depression, the reason I wanted to get Mick Miller onto this show is because Mick has literally done it all. He's done TV, he's done shows, he's done being away from being on TV, and he's one of the funniest guys. And the reason I wanted Mick in, and I know a lot of comedians, I know a lot of great comedians, I genuinely do, and I've worked with some really funny comedians, but everyone, and this is the kind of the big entrance that I'm going to introduce you to, Mick, 'cause I'm sure you're listening to this in the green room, is whenever you talk to other comedians and you say to those comedians, who's one of your favorite comedians? They will always say the same thing, and it's always Mick Miller. And I am talking about comedians of the generation now, is who inspired you to be a comedian. And I know there's a lot of great comedians out there, but there's so many people that say Mick Miller. Mick Miller was the reason. Also, and Mick knows this before we introduce him in as well, my dad, and I know he's not watching the show, but my dad is the biggest, and I mean the biggest, Mick Miller fan. And that's another reason why I would have gone. Total boy crush on this one. Total, I wanted to get in contact with him. And we're going to ask him questions, and we're going to find out about his life, his story, and how he's battled through absolutely everything. Because, I mean, living in that entertainment life. And do you know what? Let's just bring him in. Cedar, bring Mick into the show.
Cuddy, how are you? How are we doing?
How are you, Mick?
I'm superb, yeah. Now I'm back working.
And look, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about your illustrious career in the entertainment world and how that's played on your mental health. Like I said, we were talking just before the show. I don't know if you've had depression. I don't know, but I know you've battled absolutely everything. Yeah, of course.
I mean, the first time I got a bit of depression was like, I was a pro footballer from 16 till I was 20. And I was signed by Sir Stanley Matthews. I played for Port Vale. I was a goalkeeper. So I was there for 4 years, and then I got a free transfer. So basically, I didn't make it, So at 20 years old, I had a bit of depression because, like, more or less, you're told, you're not good enough, at 20 years old,
Yeah.
And then I had to go and work I was driving a crane on the railway, and I was I wasn't with it at all,
Yep.
And then luckily I got out of that and became a blue coat at a holiday camp. And then it all just went away, you know. So it was
You
fabulous.
started living that life you wanted. Brilliant.
Yes,
Absolutely
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
I didn't know you used to be a football player, Mick.
Yes, yeah. Well, I was a goalkeeper. They used to call me the cat because I used to pee on the goalpost.
That's the first one, Mick. That's the first one. So
I used to give the back 4 kittens.
Now, this is why it's called the sunnier side of depression, because when that black fog comes over us, that cloud comes over us, it genuinely, I mean, from my experiences, it was the insecurity for me, and it was that no one, it was looking at my wife knowing, oh, she doesn't love me, she's going to leave me, she doesn't love me, she can't love this person, because I had a failed audition. So I had a failed audition. I'd done all the practicing and everything that I need to do for audition for cruise director, believe it or not, Mick.
Right,
Believe it or not, yeah, remember. So that was where and it just absolutely sighed. It was like, what the hell is going on? Because I'd done everything that was supposed to be something that I wanted. Now I haven't got it. And you go on that cycle of depression and stuff like that. So I completely understand your story.
Well, the same things. And it still happens now because, like, you know, I go for parts, acting parts, you know.
Yeah.
And you don't get it.
Yeah.
And you think, I'm no good as an actor, you know. And then you go for another one the next week. And I get 4 series with Johnny Vegas. I played his father in Ideal.
And I love that.
BBC, yeah. And another thing comes along, you know, I went for a part in Coronation Street, you know. I didn't get it. But then, you know, you're down for a week. And then all of a sudden I go up for another one, you know, when you're still a bit, oh, hang on. Am I good enough for this? And then I get a part in Peter Kay's Car Share. Brilliant. So, yeah, you know, it's the ups and downs, but you've got to carry on, you know in yourself whether you're good enough, you know. So that's it.
That's
and if
really
important. If ever I get really depressed, I'll go into McDonald's and get a Happy Meal.
The funniest side of depression, there it is. So talk to us about your illustrious career, because those are those recent, and how was it working with Peter Kay? Because they're like, you were the forefathers before the Peter Kays and before the Johnny Vegases. You were there before.
Well, Peter was a fan. In fact, it was Peter that got me on the Royal Command performance. He was comparing it, and he said to the producer, we need someone to do 6 minutes in between Penn and Teller and Singing in the Rain, because they have to get all the water jetted up. So they needed 6 minutes to set. And Peter said, there's only one man, get Mick Miller. So I get the phone call, but I'm not actually on the show. I was going to be a theatre act only, just a filler in, you know. So I did the theatre act only, filled in 6 minutes. Anyway, I wowed them. You know, I wowed them because they were my type of crowd. You know, the crowd that go to the Royal Command are all over 50s, you know, and, you know, they're all theatre people, basically, you know, yes. So they were my type of people. So anyway, I wowed them. Anyway, I went home, and then 2 days later, I got a phone call. Your show was that good that we've put it in the show. So I thought, well, that's brilliant, you know. But the only thing was, I didn't do the walk down, and I didn't meet the Royals. So that was the downside of it. But you know, it was absolutely fabulous, you know. And I got loads of work off that, you know.
Yes.
So it was absolutely brilliant, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They're the good times, you know. But then, I mean, there are times when, you know, it doesn't go so well. You know, I must admit, in Scotland as well, I've got to have a few dressing room windows.
Yes,
many years ago.
That would be the safest way to get out, wouldn't it?
Well, it always used to be. We'd go up to Scotland and we'd stay in some digs, you know. And sometimes you didn't know where you were that night. You know, you'd all sit in these digs, and the phone would go and it'd say, "Mick Miller." You go to the phone and say, "Got your pen there? Right, you're going to, you know, north of Edinburgh. What would you used to do there? Musselburgh. The miners' clubs, you know. We used to do all the miners' clubs, you know. So they'd say, let's do it. So you go back in the room with the lounge where all the acts are staying, and you'd say, oh, I'm at my Stag Working Men's Club. and everyone would just go, ooh. Now that would depress you till you got there and found out what it was like, you know. And of course, they're always nice, but the little things like private weddings, not good with comedy.
Right.
Not good with comedy, private weddings. Yeah, because like they're there, it's for the bride and groom, not, you know, and like one side of the family don't like because they're getting married, and all of a sudden, who booked him? They did. We didn't want a comic. We wanted a singer. So there you've got problems.
And I've seen a lot of comedians, and I've seen you stand up on the stage, and the hecklers. I've seen hecklers, and I've seen you handle hecklers. I remember it because I know we went together on the ships and stuff like that. And I was always, whenever I saw Mick Miller coming on the ships and stuff like that, oh my God, I can't believe it. I've got to tell my dad. I've got to tell my dad Mick Miller's coming on. I'm going to be working with Mick Miller.
We had a few photos, didn't we, to send him?
And he cherishes them. He absolutely cherishes them. He genuinely does. And I remember you handling hecklers really well. Not snidey, really calmly. But that must be an experience thing, right?
Yeah, well, I don't tend to get many hecklers because, you know, I'm not aggressive. I'm one-liners, basically. You know, it's all bang, 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 you know. So I don't usually get, if I get them, they're either drunk or leery or American.
Right, okay. But you did really well in America on the Las Vegas show.
Yes, yeah. I loved it. Yeah. But the thing
I remember the show.
Yeah, Last Laugh in Vegas. Yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah. On the ships, you know, the thing is with hecklers, you can't insult them because they're going to mark you down, as you know. So you've got to put them down, put them down nicely, you know, and then say, meet me tomorrow and we'll have a pint and talk about this. And they always would.
And the one thing I always understand, I'm not sure if you know this, I'm sure you're going to be experienced in this, but projection. People project their upset on outside forces. So if they're, and I remember it was quite a young lad that he walked out with his wife. I think they'd been having a bad cruise anyway. It was just, I was just stood there in awe. And I know you'll not remember, Mick, but I have these experiences that I remember and stuff like that. And I just remember him walking out, just being so, but he had been having a bad cruise, and he just literally took it out on the entertainment. He took it out on the entertainment. He was looking over, pointed at it was effing and jeffing, and he walked out. And you just stood there. You looked at him, and you were like, "Oh, I'm really sorry, mate." And then you just turned the other direction, and you carried on with your routine. And everyone just, I think even everybody in the whole audience, because it was one of the busiest shows, it was on the Welcome Aboard show, and they all just were like, well done, Mick Miller.
I know. I remember one, and he was doing the effing and jeffing, shouting at me, and I did the same thing, but I just said, "Do you write all the Queen's speeches?"
Absolutely brilliant. So talk to us about your early experiences in the TV world, because like I say, you've got Peter Kay now, obviously you've got Johnny Vegas who did Ideal. I genuinely loved Ideal. It was so silly, surreal, but what a funny comedy it was, and you were brilliant as the dad in Car Share. So you were the forefather, and that's the thing about Peter Kay. I know that because I know Roy Walker as well. That's a little name drop for you. Yeah. And I remember speaking to Roy Walker about his experiences with Peter Kay. And I remember Roy Walker saying Peter Kay used to get the previous generation back into the TV because his mum used to say, "Oh, I used to like Roy Walker." So Peter Kay went and said, "Right, get me Roy Walker for the TV show." So I'm sure it's the same thing with Peter Kay. His mum was, "Well, I remember Mick Miller." So he must have said, "Right, get me Mick Miller."
Yeah, well, Peter's, as I say, he'd been to see me. He came to see me in Tenerife. I was doing a show in Tenerife, and he just came in with his family. He was a comedy nut, you know.
Yeah.
And Phoenix Nights was absolutely out of this world, you know. I mean, It was like, you know, they should get another one of those, you know.
Yeah.
They should get another one of those, yeah. But Peter was a mad comedy fan, you know. He loved Cannon and Ball. He loved you know, Bob Monkhouse and people like that, you know. But he's a great character comic as well, you know.
Yeah.
And doing material, you wouldn't say he's alternative, you know. He's not alternative. I would say he's more mainstream than you know, the alternative lads.
Yeah.
But when I started, I was a blue coat for 3 years, and then I went. In between time, I was living in Bournemouth at the time, so in the winter I used to do bingo calling, you know, to pay the rent.
Yeah.
And yeah, I used to do 7 afternoons calling the bingo in Bournemouth, and then I started doing the clubs, you know. Well, down there in Bournemouth, it was all Salisbury Plain was all the army camps, so I could do all the junior ranks, sergeant's mess, officers' mess. There was like 20 camps, so that's what I used to do in the winter. And then I got on the circuit, and I was doing. It was a funny story. This I was doing the first summer season, South Pier, Blackpool, and we had this magician on called Russ Stevens, who's very good, brilliant. But his end trick, he used to finish off with a cockatoo, and he you know, he did bang. This cockatoo's there. But this one night, the cockatoo has gone mad. So he was telling me that when the big yellow thing flicks up, that means he's not very happy. So he's pulled it out and done the thing, and it's flew out to the audience. End of his act. Now it's me for 11 minutes. So I go on. I Russ Stevens, put my hand out, and the cockatoo lands on my arm. So I walk over to him at the side, and it flies off, comes on my shoulder. So now I've only got 11 minutes. So I did 11 minutes with this cockatoo on my shoulder, with the thing going up, and he was mad. So I kept ducking backwards, 11 minutes with this cockatoo. Anyway, the next week I get a phone call, right, to go and do New Faces at the time.
Yes, so anyway, I remember it well.
I go down to Birmingham to do New Faces, and I walk in the green room, and I do rehearsals, and the producer come running in and said, "Where's the cockatoo?" He only booked me because he thought I had a cockatoo on my shoulder. Anyway, so I did New Faces, and I won it. I won my heat. And
did you get the cockatoo for the second heat?
That was, can you imagine that? Where's the cockatoo? Yes, so that was a good experience doing New Faces, winning one show. Then I was down to doing the clubs then for 4 years. I was doing you know, right throughout the country, all the Baileys circuit, the big Baileys clubs, the Batley Variety Club, all the big clubs, and I supported a lot of stars. I supported Tommy Cooper.
Wow.
Yeah, Batley Variety Club. I did noon and night on Sunday with Chuck Berry.
What, at Batley in Leeds?
At Batley in Leeds, yeah.
That was a big thing back in the day, wasn't it? The Batley. Leeds
Tom Jones did it. Shirley Bassey did it.
Wow.
Fleetwood Mac did it. Yeah. Oh, they had some big stars there. So yeah, I did 3 years of going around the clubs doing that, supporting. You know, it was like a big cabaret circuit. Then were the days of. Do you remember Chicken in the Basket?
I vaguely Scampi in a Basket more for me. I remember a Billy Connolly joke about Scampi in the Basket.
And if you said, "Have you got a vegetarian option?" That say, "Eat the basket."
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic! That's absolutely brilliant. Oh, that's good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah. So that's how I started doing the clubs, and then I got on the Comedians in 1979.
Now that great. And how many years did you do for the TV program?
The Comedians started in 72. That was with all the the Ken Goodwin, Frank Carson. Frank Carson, who else? Charlie Williams,
Nice.
All the big names, Mike Reed.
Yeah.
And then they brought it back. They brought it back in 79-80 with added 3, which was Roy Walker, Stan Boardman, and myself. So that's what we did. And I was the youngest. I was only 29, and I was the only bald one. Because all the rest had perms. Stan Boardman had a perm. Rat Cast had the curly hair. Anyone that was bald combed it across. So I was the only bald one, and I was the youngest.
So I have to ask, so you've always been follically challenged
when I first started, 72 I started to go bald. So, it went to the thing, and it's just stayed like this, getting thinner and thinner every year. But I always start my act now saying, I know you're looking at me and thinking Hulk Hogan's let himself go. This is what Donald Trump looks like when he comes out the shower. This is.
I remember that on the Las Vegas show, and I remember you doing, and that was really, I mean, for a British comedian such as yourself, because that was the whole premise of the TV show. And look, we're always talking about getting out of the comfort zone. We get stuck in these comfort zones that are created by our anxieties, our depressions, and we don't want to move past that. But you yourself, Mick, I mean, you literally could not have. How many times in your life? It's a constant barrage of taking yourself out of your comfort zone and saying, "Yeah, I'll try that."
Oh yeah. Well, it's got to be done. Plus, with working the ships, I knew I can handle Americans.
Yep.
And I knew I can work to them. So that was my little thing at the back of my mind,
Yep, absolutely.
So I worked out what I was going to do, and Americans, you've got to explain it to them basically before you hit them with this punchline, and that's what I did. You just got to look at them and say, "Excuse me, by the way, it's aluminium."
Yeah. It is weird, some of the words that they have. It is. I mean, I've worked with Americans for many, many, many years, and even when I say, what was the word that I used to always say to them when I had to explain it to them? Oh, I can't even remember. I genuinely can't even remember. There was one where they were like, "What have you just said?" Oh, queue. I said, "Can you just get in the queue over here?"
Oh, stand in the line. Yeah.
Oh, and they're like, "No, it's a line." I'm like, "No, it's a queue. Can you just get in the queue down here for us? Just stand down here." They're like, "No, it's not a queue. It's a line." And we used to. It was damn. I don't. All right. Okay. Fair enough. Stand in line. Okay. Yeah. Not a problem.
Elevator. That always gets me. Elevator. Yeah. Sidewalk.
Yes, absolutely. The sidewalk instead of the pavement. Yes.
I always say to Americans, I got heckled by an American, and I said, "Excuse me." I said, "Get," and he went, "Hey, limey." I said, "Limey? That's an old word." So I said, "Mind you, we're an old country. In fact," I said, "I've got a table in my house that's older than your country."
That's very true. Very true. Very true. So you mentioned Tommy Cooper. Now, Tommy Cooper, for me, totally selfish, but Tommy Cooper was the everything that I wanted to be in an entertainer. I heard stories. Yeah. And I heard stories of Tommy Cooper. I used to read up a lot of books about him. And Tommy Cooper used to be able to sit in his dressing room. Now, you're going to be able, because you've worked with him, you're going to be able to say yes or no to this, and you're going to be able to give us some stories on Tommy Cooper. Absolutely brilliant. But he used to stay in his changing room and just laugh into a microphone. And he would make the audience wait for a good 45 minutes before he was ready or bothered to go out on stage and do his show. But he would get laughs.
Yeah, he had a couple like that. One thing he used to do was he'd walk on, all the curtains were closed and the lights were off, and he'd bang into the drums, and then he hit a piano key, and he'd just say, "I must be in the dressing room with the band." And then he'd hit the drums again, and it would open, and of course he stood there, on the floor next to the drums, and then he'd just get up and do the laugh then. I used to, every night, I used to walk backstage, and I laughed at the props because I knew it was coming. He was incredible. Lonely
I
man.
mean,
Lonely man. After the show, he always wanted to, Mick, will you come and have a drink? Come and have a drink with me. He was, all the thousands of people, when you're on stage, and then at the end of the day, going out the stage door, excuse me, on his own.
Yes.
Yeah. But great company.
Do you know what? I think you've touched on a really important part, and especially in the entertainment world. And I've worked with a lot of entertainers, as you know, and I don't think I would ever class myself as an entertainer, but as the host of the great shows that we used to have on. And I used to work, on backstage because I've been doing like all the coaching stuff and things to get people past their nerves, their emotions, that mindset, that chatter. You can't go out. You're going to look stupid. You're going to make a mess up. All that chatter that goes on. And I've worked with a lot of great guys behind the stage before they go on. And I think you made a really good point there about Tommy Cooper, this man, the myth, the legend. And he was the man for everyone. But when that curtain closes and the lights come down, you go back to that weirdness of nothing. And that I believe Tommy Cooper suffered with depression for many, many, many years, such as the greats like Robin Williams. It's that thing, and you're going to be able to talk about it. Of that, there's that connection when you go on stage, when you overcome that chatter. You go onto the stage and you genuinely make people laugh, and you create that association for, wow, this is something that I can do. Do you yourself? I don't know if you've ever had that, but when you come away and walk away from the stage and it was such a good experience, do you walk away and go, oh, but what now? And that's where depression can come in sometimes, because when you get that feeling of life when you go on the stage and you are this amazing entertainer, when you come away and you go back to that bit of normality, that can really cause like that frustration and stuff for people.
Yeah, a lot of people think, well, you're only as good as your last show. So that I never think that way. I think, like, if I'm doing a summer season and I'm doing 6 nights and I'm doing 20 minutes and it's a packed house every night, you look forward to going to work. You can't wait for 6 o'clock to get in that theatre, have a cup of tea and the ambience, meeting people. How are you? How's your day? And all the bit. And then afterwards, maybe, especially in summer season, because you're all in different towns, all go for a Chinese or all go for a nightclub, not every night, but obviously. And then, that's great, But at the end of the season, it's a big downer because, like, you go back to work in, Halifax Miners Club, on your own, and people are not on holiday. This is our club. We've had them all here. We've paid Ken Dodd off here. That's before you go on.
And that's when you go from the glitz and the glamour, which is that moving up the level, and then when you have to go back and then go back to the graft. You go back to the graft.
But I've always done it, I've done TV series and still, and the big shows. I've been doing the same club in Liverpool. I'm from Liverpool. I've been doing the same club there for the last 30 years. Once a year I do it, and it just brings me down to earth. And I still do it. Yeah, I still do it once a year. In fact, I'm doing it in a couple of weeks' time. Yeah, Old Swan Conservative Club.
Brilliant. That's amazing, and that must be a lovely tradition to have.
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah. And I know more or less everyone in the audience.
Of course. Absolutely. Now, do you change your routines every year for that, or do you still go to?
Well, with my act, I'd say 30% goes out and 30% comes in. You've always got your standard start and your finish. And then what comes along, and people request things now. You're going to do that thing. Yeah.
Now that is something that I have to say, whether you do it or you don't, but to me, still, and I know what I'm going to say, but the Noddy sketch is still one of the comedy classics. And to see you perform it, I'm like, I watched that as a kid on TV growing up, and I'm seeing it live on stage now, done in front, and everybody still comes up and said, The Noddy sketch. The Noddy sketch
yes,
is
yeah.
still a comedy classic.
Yeah, yeah. Well, how that came about was I'd never been anywhere. First time I'd been abroad, I went to this agent put me in South Africa because I'd never been anywhere. And I get out there, apartheid. I didn't know anything about that. Of course, I was brought up in Liverpool, which is very multicultural.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't get my head around it. And the place we worked, there was a girl singer, a double act, and me. And I just didn't go down. I was like struggling every night, dying every night. But they can't send you home, it's costing too much money.
Yeah.
And there was no television there at the time. So I was in my room one night, no television. I'm really depressed. And they only had a radio. So I put the radio on and it was Listen with Mother. Luckily, I had the duty-free bottle of gin on the side. Anyway, I opened it and I just got the glass. And the woman said, "And what does Noddy do today?" And I went, "I'll tell you what Noddy does today." Now, and before I got absolutely sozzled, I wrote it down. And that's how that came about. Yeah, that's how that came about. Yeah.
The Noddy sketch is still amazing. And Veronica, one of the viewers watching right now, she says, "I think we grew up with the best era of comedy. Tommy Cooper, Les Dawson, Cannonball, Mick." She remembers what you wore. This is Veronica, one of our viewers all the way from Edinburgh. And she's sending you a little message there, Mick.
Oh, thank you, Veronica. Thank you. Just before lockdown, I did a fabulous week at the King's Theatre in Edinburgh with Alan Stewart.
Yeah, Alan! Yes, he did his commemorative, 50 years in showbiz.
Yeah, well, I did it. I was on with it with.
I remember.
Mary Wilson, great Mary Wilson, the singer. Oh, she was absolutely brilliant. And of course, the panto there was always big, strong. But when we lost Andy Gray, who was been doing pantomime with Alan for years, wonderful man. So I had a nice week with all of them there at Edinburgh, and I've been up to do the Fringe as well. I went up and did that, which was good. Yeah,
you starring at the Fringe. That's quite a brilliant thing. Yeah,
it was great because I do all the comedy. I do the Comedy Store. I do the one in Liverpool called the Laughter House.
Nice.
There's a fabulous one in Blackpool, which I'm still doing to this day. It's called the Comedy Station. I do a Sunday afternoon there.
I've been to the Comedy Station. It's brilliant.
Yeah. So things are still going good. But lockdown, I mean, that was. I bought a brand new car, and it arrived the week before lockdown.
Right.
Can you imagine? So I couldn't get out the deal.
Right.
I had to carry it on. And I worked it out over the year. My wheelie bin did more mileage than my car.
And look, let's talk about that. I mean, this is extremely relevant. Now, I'm always there I always come from a place, I didn't used to, but I come from a place of everything has a positive intention. Everything has a positive intention. And I've got that wired into my mind. So we're looking now for the past, a year you've not been able to work? I know you're starting to get work again now.
16 months. 16 months it was.
It was 16 to 18 months for everyone, not being able to work. How did that play on, if you've got a new car as well, and how does that play? Because it's very ambient entertainment. The entertainment world is ambient. You're in, you're out, you're working, you're not working. It's nothing.
That's it, yeah.
Constant.
Well, I was struggling because, you get we don't get furloughed.
Nope.
Because you're self-employed, we got nothing off the government at all, And the bad thing for me was, there's me and the wife and our 2 dogs. Of course, you couldn't see family and friends, So you couldn't work, You can't write because, you don't know whether you're ever going to work again.
Correct.
It was really bad. I started to help Blackpool Zoo in the winter because there was a really bad winter. So I went in there and, I was knitting scarves for giraffes.
That's brilliant. If that's true, that's brilliant. If it's a joke, that's phenomenal. And if that's off the cuff, Mick, if you've just thrown
No, yeah, so it was bad. It was, and then I started to miss people I don't even like.
Yes, that was a thing.
Yeah, it was really bad, but could see a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. Every booking that I had, luckily enough, people kept them in, for further dates.
Yeah.
So then we had that false sense of security with the month when it went, and then of course people were frightened of booking anything, because you're locked down again. So like there were. Anyway, now touch wood, it's all come back. I do the Butlins, so I'm at Minehead on a Saturday, so I go down to Minehead to the Butlins 80s weekend. So I was at Bognor last week doing that. That was great. The fabulous weekends. We had who did we have on last weekend? Oh, Tony Hadley, Slade.
Nice.
Merrill Osmond. Yeah, they have so many on. Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. Good stuff. Now, so like I said, I come from a place from everything's got a positive intention. If you can find that one positive intention, you might start climbing yourself out of that depression. You got to look for that one thing, grab onto that light, and then keep going up. Do you have routines now because of COVID, because of your experiences, like knitting scarves for giraffes? Brilliant, by the way. But have you been able to commentate on this for your routines now, for your experiences that other people are going to be able to share with that?
I'll stay away from it really because it upsets a lot of people as well. With COVID, we lost a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, bless him. Bobby Ball. Bless his heart.
Yeah.
And he came to see me 3 weeks before he went in hospital. No, 3 days before he went in hospital. I was doing the comedy club in Lytham, and Bobby came down to see me. And that was the last time I saw him. At least 3 days he was in hospital. And of course, who else? We lost Eddie Large.
I was going to say Eddie Large, because I was just with Sid Little.
Yeah.
And he's
Sid lives down. Yes, Sid lives down the road. Yeah.
Yes, I was at his pub, his restaurant, with a lovely meal, and again, because of my dad, I always like to try and get my dad to see, and he's like, I think this is Sid Little restaurant. I said, let's go and have a chat and stuff like that. And Sid was on top form. I'm going to be honest with you, Sid Little and Veronica. Listen, if you remember Little and Large, there's a picture of me with Sid Little from a couple of weeks ago on my Instagram, which is because I'm 6'2" and 3 feet wide, and Sid Little is still little, and I'm sure he's getting shorter by the moment. Genuinely is. But you know what? Yeah. He had some absolutely fabulous stories that he was telling, and I'd forgotten, and I mean I had to apologize for him because I was like, oh, where's Eddie? And he was like, oh, we lost Eddie to COVID and things like that. So he got the COVID and we lost him. But Sid was in top form.
Yeah. Oh, he loves it up there. Yeah, he's got a mate who's a farmer.
Right.
And he's got this fabulous little place for families. It's called Farmer Pars. And it's, they've got llamas and deer and all that. And you can go and pet them. And he's got a little railway going round and a cafe and all of it. And that's his best mate, his Farmer Par. Yeah. So, you see them out and about.
Absolutely. And do you know what? And I have to say this, he was dressed very young. He was dressed very smart, and he was so fit and healthy and on point. He was.
Yeah,
absolutely. He was even. We both know Hillary O'Neill, obviously, and I text Hillary. I said, "Oh, this is the new Sid Little and Large," because I always go to Hillary for stuff. And he was like absolutely fantastic. And I have to say, and Veronica's saying staycations are going to be a boost in entertainment. The old caravan was a good holiday. Loved Little and Large. We had great entertainers. We did, Veronica. We absolutely did. And staycations for you, Mick, as well for work moving forward. I don't follow the news and I don't follow media because I don't want to believe half the things that's going on. I try and keep away from that. I'll be very honest, Mick. That's being very relevant right now. I'm not a fan of the news. I'm not a fan of the media, and I don't want that coming in. I don't know what you're like with that, Mick. I'm not sure how you follow those kind of things, but I like the fact that you said you stay away from comedy about COVID, and I think that's a very sensible choice, Mick. I think that's really
well, I always think there's someone in the audience who's lost someone, and it's going to bring back memories.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like the news. I stay away from the news. I just they started all the panic on last Friday. They started all that panic. Good Morning Britain, they put it up, and then BBC put it up. So all of a sudden, you can't get petrol anywhere because everybody's watched it and gone oh, that's me,
Absolutely.
And for someone like myself who's got to go to Minehead, so that's probably 2 full tanks. So I've got to watch what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get back to the caravan, Veronica. I have a caravan in the lakes in Bowness, static caravan. And I don't really like it because every time I put my key in the door, my hair flies up. So
absolutely brilliant. Oh, an absolute legend, mate. Absolute legend. Love it.
Yeah, so saying that the staycations now, you can't get a place at Butlins or any of these places now. The hotels, Blackpool is absolutely chock-a-block. You cannot get on anyone's couch. It's absolutely heaving.
It is.
In fact, they've got a great show coming up, a Bobby Ball tribute show.
I saw that.
I was looking at the bill. The bill is tremendous. Jason Manford. Obviously, Tommy Cannon's on it. Russell Watson, absolutely tremendous. That's at the Winter Gardens, and the money to that is going to get him a statue in Lytham. Where he lived.
Oh, like with the Les Dawson statue down there.
Yeah, well, they're going to do one in Lytham, so that's what they're doing the big show for. So I think that'll be brilliant.
Oh, that's lovely. I think Phil Walker's doing that as well. I know I'm good friends with Phil Walker. I just did a podcast with Phil. Which is
Phil's a great mate of mine. Yeah, well, he runs that comedy club that I do in Lytham. Yeah, he's doing really well, Phil, at the moment.
Yes, he is. He's got his book out and everything.
Yeah, he does well with them kids' books. Yeah,
he absolutely does.
And Panto, he likes Panto. I don't like Panto. I didn't like Panto at all.
And what was it you didn't like about Panto then?
The dressing up, basically.
It would mess with the hair.
And I didn't like it. I did one. It was in Saudi Arabia. It was Alibaba and the 40 fellas with one hand.
It's how you slide him in. It's how you slide him in. It just shows you that I don't know how old you are now, Mick, but it just shows you how quick you are that you still go back to your little memory bank all the way at the back and think, right, Panto, I've got a joke. Let's just slide that one in there.
Oh, it's always up. It's always there. Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant, fantastic. So, what have you got coming up for the future, Mick? I know you've been talking about those staycations and all those things, but what's coming up?
Back on the cruises.
Yeah,
back on the cruises. I do my little comedy clubs. Yeah, I do. I do all the lines. I do Royal Caribbean, Cunard, Princess. I did one a couple of weeks ago with a brand new ship for Saga.
Okay.
Brand new ship. It was just around Britain. It didn't. I got off in Belfast, got on in Tilbury. It doesn't stop anywhere. But you got the ambulance. Beautiful ship. Saga. Beautiful.
Yes.
It was, nice little theatre, but with COVID, you got to wear a mask in the theatre.
Yeah.
So it's no good for comics. Yeah. That's no good for comics at all.
Because
good for ventriloquists.
Do you know? I think I was watching Hillary's and Gareth Oliver. Gareth Oliver, I know he's a ventriloquist, and Max Fulham, I know he's a ventriloquist. And when everyone's with a mask, you're just like, well, that's a ventriloquist dream, right? Everything's got a positive outcome. Everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's absolutely brilliant. Honestly, Mick, thank you so much for joining us.
It's lovely, lovely to see you. Lovely to see your face, Cuddy.
There's not many people say that, Mick. Let me be honest with you. Now, before you go, I'm going to see if Veronica's got any questions for you. Veronica, I know you're watching the show right now. While we've got Mick for another 5 minutes, do you have any questions that you want to bring to the forefront for Mick? It's lovely to get guests on. I'm excited. I've got another guest coming up for next month as well. But Veronica, while you're there, my love, if you've got any questions, you can put some questions in for Mick, because that's the whole premise of this digital radio show. So this is the digital radio format now, Mick. So it's all on YouTube now. It's all on Facebook. It's on Twitter. It goes into a podcast after. So it's all this new concept of radio. It's phenomenal, isn't it, Mick?
It is. It's incredible nowadays. It's as I say, I've got a real old iPad, so
yeah,
I only use it. I use it to just take with me on the ships, with films. So it's not capable for all this technology. I mean, I've still got a gas telly. Yeah. So yeah.
That's hilarious. That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Veronica says, thank you, Mick. Fabulous comedy. Don't put me on the spot. Veronica, thanks for keeping us going with the question with the banter as well, Veronica. You're just as much a part of Chatter About Chatter, and I know you tune into all the other radio shows as well. Mick, I'm not going to keep you any longer because I've got 15 minutes.
Right.
And I'm going to
do the serious stuff.
Yeah, well, we're going to try. We're going to try and keep a nice, easier side to it and stuff like that. But we are going to be talking about depression and getting people that. I want to give everyone that ability to be able to talk about what's going on and all those kind of things. Now, the one thing I did, in fact, before you go, Mick, I do have one question for you. I know that what popped up was when you've been, as you have with your career, when you get rejected. And how did you cope with that rejection? Because I think you kind of touched on it a little bit. But when you've been told you're not good enough for this, you're not good enough for this, what made you keep going, Mick? When you were doing it like Saudi Arabia and you said you were struggling in South Africa, what is it that has made you have this illustrious career of realizing that was a bad day, but I'm going to get back up and do it again?
I just think of the good days that I've had before. Think of the good times, and I know I can do it, and then it comes back to you,
That's amazing, because that knockback of I failed last night and I've got to go on stage again, and we have those nights where it bombs that little bit, and when you get back on stage, Mick, that is what's genuinely made you an absolutely solid entertainer for many, many years, and we're extremely grateful to have you, and thank you so much for being on the show, Mick.
My pleasure, Cuddy. Enjoyed every minute of it. Thank you.
Not a problem at all. Thank you so much, mate. Big love from Cuddy. As always, Mick, get in contact anytime you want. See you soon.
Bye.
Cheers, Mick. Thanks a lot. Cena's going to, I'm sure if see. So honestly, that was a fantastic show. I know we've got about 12 minutes left, and I've got some cracking subjects to be talking about and stuff like that. Veronica, you are a big part of the show, and thank you so much for joining in. And I'm going to be talking about the next show that's going to be coming up. Now, myself and Graham Nichols have got a show coming up next Thursday. So we've got a different show. That's the Meanings of Life. So hopefully you're going to tune in for that, for everyone that's going to be watching this all over the world. But I've got, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a teaser of the guest I've got signed up now. He's an absolute superstar right now. He is someone that I've worked with in the past, but he's got a fabulous story to tell. And we're going to get into, John probably doesn't even know this right now, the questions I'm going to be asking him, but it's about that chatter, that internal chatter. That's what that monkey mind is for anyone that's not fully understanding of the monkey mind. It's that chatter in the conversations that we have, those questions we ask ourselves that causes the anxiety, the depression, that upset that we have in our lives. It's exhausting, ladies and gentlemen. And look, if anybody's out there listening, I know it's exhausting because I've been there. And yes, I will drop the meditation bomb one more time. Meditation saved my life. And if anybody wants to do some free meditation, live meditation every Monday, you are more than welcome to join us. Go to the website, which is that side, monkeymindrelaxation.com. Click on the Facebook link and join the Facebook group. It's that simple. It's that easy. And I will give you an invite for live meditation, calming those thoughts, calming that chatter, which so many people don't understand. They start, that's how we start medicating. I've worked with people that say, I started drinking because once I started drinking, that's what calmed the thought process. So we keep using, we have that association, drink calms the thoughts, think drawn to the throat. That's why alcoholism can become so prevalent in people drinking. We often find ourselves self-medicating for depression, those conversations, and it's a call out to absolutely anyone. If you want to get in contact, you are more than welcome to. There is some extremely talented people at men's radio station and the women's radio station that have got the skills and the talent for you to be able to reach out to and say, I think this is someone that could probably help me with the challenges that I have. Now, I'll be honest with you. I've been working for the past year as a cognitive behavioral therapist. I have been working with mainly ladies, genuinely. But it's a call out to men. That's why I wanted to get onto the men's radio station. It's a call out to men. And for anyone that's in Scotland, Veronica, I think if you look on Instagram, I'm also got a little men's mental health dipping society, the Fife Dippers. So if anybody's in the Fife area, absolutely, we can change the chatter. Yes, Veronica, we can have more control over these, and we don't realize, most people don't realize, you don't have to self-medicate. You can just talk. It's the beliefs that we have. It's the beliefs that are from years gone by. They just get ingrained, and we keep going back over these thoughts. And the second you've said, I'm not good enough 3 times, it becomes a belief. The second you've started saying that, the internal chatter, that conversation starts saying, well, I can't do this, and I can't do this, and I can't do this. You're in depression. It's that quick, because you're sending a signal up to your brain, and your brain's thinking, well, if I can't do that, and I can't do that, I can't do that, what can I do? Nothing. And that's how these thoughts, we've got to understand the power of his thoughts. There's so many books out there, but you've got to understand the power of your thoughts. Your thoughts, if they are not playing with you, if you're not playing with your thoughts on an understanding level, will absolutely send you, boom, downward spiral, get you stuck with anxiety. And it's exhausting. And you don't have to live like that. You do not have to have shame about, so I can't talk about this, especially as guys. It's men. I have to be honest, most of the ladies I work with, they're so good at opening up and talking about these things. And I commend all the women that I've worked with, all my clients that have been women. Brilliant, fantastic to say there's something not quite right. I need to work past this. Brilliant. Guys, it's a call out. It's an absolute call out. Wherever you are in the world, there is so many people out there that you can talk to. You can talk to, and you can find out that what you think is the problem is not always the problem. It's not always the challenge. That's what's creating that anxiety. It's what creates that depression. We start feeling insecure. We have those days where we're looking around and we think no one loves us, no one likes us. And I to be honestly, my past, I think 2 or 3 clients have been big CEOs of companies that have worked all the way up to the top, and they're struggling with their family life, and they're struggling with this. And sometimes we struggle to have that balance. So look, it's a call out to guys out there. We love this radio station. Now I am going to tell you the next guest that we're going to have coming up in a month's time is mid tour of the UK right now. And it is, I'm a little bit excited to be able to say it, but it's Britain's Got Talent winner, John Courtney. He's going to be coming on and telling you about his story, because when you're watching people on the TV and you can watch them do these kind of things, if you don't catch the right chats with them where they tell you about their stories, what they've struggled with before they've got to the heights of the entertainment or the successful lives that they live, you can often just think, there's a person who's just got it all. And nobody's got it all. I certainly don't have it all. Successful people don't have it all. There's a story of overcoming the challenges that they've had to get them where they need to. And I certainly come from that place of the challenges that I had and the embarrassment and the shame, and you don't want people to know. So, Veronica, I'm going to give a shout out to the Edinburgh Blue Balls Dipping Society in Edinburgh. For any men, there is a dipping society over there. Dipping in cold water, the sea, is extremely beneficial. And yes, I'll say you have to be mental to do it. And that's the fun thing about it. Now, if you are in the Fife area, or Veronica, you've got any friends or men over in the Fife area, just over the water, I'm in Leven. I always go dipping down on Leven Beach, or all the coast of Fife. If I can go down, we've got some cracking places to go dipping. And I am a big, massive component or positive telling everybody you've got to go dipping. Once you realize you can get in cold water for a minute, 2 minutes, it gives you this absolute surge of adrenaline. And if I'm going dipping at 5:30, I'm going dipping. So you can find the Facebook groups. Edinburgh Blue Balls, which is all the way over in Edinburgh. You can follow them on Instagram. I'm going to reach out to them and just let them know I've given them a plug on the radio show. I'm the Men's Mental Health Dipping Society, Five Dippers, Men's Mental Health Dipping Society in Fife. There is so many. Oh, yeah. Cold water therapy. Cold water therapy is another thing. And I started doing it last year in about November, and it was horrible. I climbed a Munro last year, and I knew there was a nice spot to dip, and I thought, I'll do it. It was November. And you'll be lucky if I lasted 27 seconds. I was like, no, oof. But I tell you what, the second you get out and you've been in that cold water and you get out, it's just sends your endorphins absolutely on fire. Absolutely on fire. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable, the feeling of that being a superhero of I've just sat in cold water. Now, the water's changing and it is getting colder. But because of the summer we've had, the water's actually been quite warm, and it's still actually quite high. The temperatures of the water don't start dipping till a little bit later, but it's cold before you get in the water. So you can sometimes find when you get into the water, and I'm going to give you a safety advice now for this, is what it's about, and I generally think this is what life is about as well, is controlling your breath. You dive into cold water, sends a shock through your entire body, boom. It can have catastrophic effects, I'll be honest with you. However, you go in and use some breathwork techniques, which you can find online. If you want to come and work with me, I'll come dipping down in Leven. You are more than welcome. So I'll do some coaching for you on breathwork. But controlling your breath in a meditative style when you get into the cold water will 100% just make you feel like an absolute legend. Absolute legend. It really is. So, we've got a couple of minutes left. John Courtney is going to be on the next show. We're going to be talking about his journey and his battle with skin cancer. And we're going to talk about his chatter and those conversations that he had. We're going to talk about those glories that he's done now, because he genuinely, there's a gentleman that has literally took himself out of his comfort zone, put his heart on the line, golden buzzer, boom, won the competition. So Britain's Got Talent, John Courtney, a winner, is going to be on live on the next chatter about the chatter. And that's at live at Men's Radio Station. As always, a shout out to Veronica. You're a good one. Anybody else who's watching this live or on catch up? That's a word we use now, catch up, isn't it? You're always more than welcome to get in contact. That is what we're here for, to give you the help and the support that you need. Men's mental health matters. Absolutely matters. And the leaving thoughts I will have for you, especially when it comes to depression, I think one of those conversations we have is no one understands. Trust me, there's more people understand than you would like to think. And think is the most terrible word sometimes. It's what we think is what causes us the challenges. Work on your thoughts and the rest follows. And once it can be such this big impactful thing. I've only got a few seconds left. I know I've got about 30 seconds left. So look, get in contact on Facebook. If you ever want to chat, hit me up on Messenger. But go to the Relaxation. Now there's some free meditations you get on there. There's some free worksheets that you can get on there. And myself and Graham are going to be very, very shortly releasing a video course for anyone who works for the NHS that's struggling with stress, anxiety, and overwhelm. And that's going to be a free video course that you can go and download. And myself and Graham are going to be uploading that very, very shortly and giving people the details. Ladies and gentlemen, big love from Cody!